Yes, sir. The recording, the live is started, sir.
All right. Once again, very good evening, everyone. We have gathered here again in day three for file handling session. So let's quickly start it. And before that, let me tell you what or why exactly we need file handling. So guys, there are various applications you might have used in your entire life till now or till date. Even when you are using your cell phone and any application inside your cell phone, it has something, or you can say it has a feature which logs your, you can say, history. Whether if you are using a browser, it will log your websites which you are browsing, right? If you're using your banking application, something like UPI or Google Pay or GPay, Phone Pay, it logs your transaction, right? That how much credited, how much debited, all those entries is logged somewhere inside your phone called as transaction history. Similarly, if you're using some actual banking softwares, so you get something called as bank statements or passbook, something like that, right? Which actually shows you the date, timing, the amount credited, the total net balance available in the account. All those records is available for you. Okay. Every time you do any transaction, whether it is related to your websites, whether it is related to your applications or some other application that you might use, every time you do something, some operations in your application, it get logged. Okay, your application logs it, or you can say write it in a very simple language. Okay, it notes down. So that is how file handling works. Doesn't matter what kind of software or product you are creating. If you want to log each and every detail, each and every button click of the user, you can do it using file handling. By default, when we say file handling in Python, it uses the text file, the very standard notepad which it has. Okay, so by default, Python reads only text file. If you want to make Python read a document or PDF or some other kind of file format, you can definitely do so by installing external modules. Okay. For example, as I said, by default, it uses a text file or a notepad file, .txt files, right? But if I want to make it read as a PDF file, I have to download a external module called as PyPDF. If you want to open an Excel file, so Open PyExcel is the software, or you can say is the module that we need to install first. Similarly, for TSV file, for XML file, for JSON file, we have a module called as pandas, using which we can actually see what is written inside that file, right? So there are multiple modules by which you can actually read each and every type of file format that you have existed in this current generation of programming language. Okay, so without wasting much time, let's get started. So I'll be using, let's suppose new file here. So I'll open my ideally, guys. Okay, you are free to use any software you like. Then again, as I said, this is an interpreter. If you see this triple angle brackets over here, it's an interpreter. You cannot execute more than one line of code in the interpreter. I repeat, you cannot execute more than one line of code in the interpreter. But if you want to write a program which has multiple line, use new file, which is a code editor actually. You can press Ctrl N to get it, or go to file and click on new file. All right. So these are the things. And now I'll just save it and make sure, okay, make sure that you save it on desktop. Okay, make sure that you save it on desktop. So currently my desktop is clean. I don't have many software or many applications or many folders over here. So I'll be saving it over here itself. Okay. By the way, you can save it any place you like, but the file which we are going to read should be at the same location. That is what is mandatory. You can save it anywhere you like. Okay. So I'll just save it in the desktop itself. So I'll just click on desktop here. Okay. And I'll save it as file H. You can name it any name you like. So I'll save it here. So now if you see, where is the file? Yeah. So this is the file H that we have. I'll placed it in the center as of now. Okay. Secondly, since we are performing file handling, so definitely we are going to need a file, right? Which we are going to read in future. So I'll be opening my notepad here, guys, and I'll just simply write this is line 1, this is line 2, this is line 3, this is line 4. Okay, a very simple 4 lines. And again, I'll be saving it in the desktop itself, calling it as sample. Okay, so I'll be saving it as desktop and calling it as sample file. You can name it anything you like. Now, if you see here, this is my sample file. Now, please pay attention, guys. As I said, doesn't matter where you save your file, but both of the files should be in the same directory. Okay, both of the file, your sample file which you are going to read and your Python file should be in the same working directory, or else it won't work for now. Later I'll share the way as well that how can you read some other file outside the directory. But for now, for next 15-20 minutes, we'll be keeping our file next to our Python file. Okay, we'll be keeping our sample file next to our Python file. Okay, so create these files next to your Python file only, or make it in the same working directory. Anywhere you like, pictures, music, downloads, document, any folder you like, but keep it in the same working directory for now. Okay, next to one another. Okay, so these are my files. So as I said, this is my sample file, sample.txt. It has 4 lines, and this is my Python file. Okay. Now, guys, you need to understand this. If I want to open a file, we all know that we need to double click on the file in order to open it. Similarly, if you want to read a file in a programming language, you must open it first. So how do we open it? We open it using a built-in function called as open. Okay, we open it in a built-in function called as open, and in this open function we have to pass the argument. What are the arguments? Argument is the name of the file that we need to read. So my file name is sample.txt. Now what is this txt? By default, when you save your notepad file, guys, it will give you a txt extension. Okay, if you see here, if you go ahead and check the properties of the file, it will give you .txt extension. So this is sample is the name and .txt is the extension of the file. Okay, so we need to write the name with extension. Okay, we need to write the name with extension. And secondly, we need to add that what exactly we are going to do after opening it. So we are going to read, guys. Okay, we are going to read this file. So for read, we have to specify R for read. Okay, so whatever content, or you can say whatever object it returns, I'll just save it in a variable called as file. Okay, so this function, this open function will open the txt file, sample.txt file. It will open it, right? And this function will return something. This function must do something. If you remember in the last session, right? If you remember in the last session, we have covered a small topic called as function, right? Where I told you that what exactly function is. It is an organized set of instructions returned to perform a specific task, right? So if you see this voting function, it gives you an output. It gives you some value, right? So definitely, if open is also a function, it must do something. So what exactly it does? It opens the file, right? It checks that where exactly it has been situated in the RAM or memory, and it will save it inside the file. Okay, so if you want to see that, I'll just show you. If I run this and if you check file, this is how open function returns you. Okay, this is how open function gives you the value. So this is what has been saved inside a file currently. And definitely you cannot read it in your blind eyes, in your naked eyes, you cannot read it, right? It is a computer format. If you see here, encoding is CP1252. So definitely you cannot read it, right? It is not in UTF-8 format. Okay. So in order to read it, in order to let Python know that we actually want to read this file that we have opened, we need to have the method called as read. So I'll just call my file variable and dot notation, and I'll say read the file. Okay, so this will give you the output, guys. This will definitely will give you the output, and I will save it in next variable called as content of the file. So whatever file gives you back, I will save it in the variable called as content. Okay, so that I can save the data to use later on. Now, once the work is done, I'm going to print whatever is been saved inside the content. And finally, this is very important step, guys. If your work is done, you must close the file. Okay, you must close the file, or there is a chance that in future when you will open it, it may get corrupt, or you may not be able to read your file. Okay, since it has not been properly closed, right? And it is very common sense. If you have read the file, you will always close it, right? For example, if I just double click on this sample file, I read the lines, and then definitely I'll press this red button to close it. Same thing works here. If your work is done, if you have read the file, you must close it. Okay. There is no harm in read mode. If you are reading it, it will not create much, you can say, harm to you. But if you are writing something in the file and if you don't close it, the writing, it will not be visible in the file, or you will lose your data, whatever you're going to write. Okay. The return statement will not be saved in your file. So you must every time close when you read the file or when finished reading the file. So now we have done everything. I'll save the file and click on run F5. Now this is what it gives me. This is line 1, this is line 2, this is line 3, and this is line 4. Okay. So this is how we read the file, guys. Okay. So now I'm giving you 2-3 minutes. Please write this 4 line of code. All right, and then let me know. We'll move to the next part, which is write. So I'll show you 3 things here in file handling, just to give you the taste. We have read the file. Next, we will write something in that file. And then there is something called as append. So I'll try to show you how append works in the file. Okay. So these are the 3 things that we are going to cover today. So first, finish this and let me know if you are done. Then everyone, guys. Okay, so now moving ahead. So now, before we see this write and append, I must tell you this, that guys, if we keep this code as it is and write the write method code, right? So definitely while running this, it will definitely run. So instead of that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create it in the function format, so that unless and until I call it explicitly, it should not work. So I'll just select and then use indent region. Now it is inside the body of this function. So unless and until I call this function, now you can see actually. So if I run this, nothing gets printed. So unless and until I run, or you can say call this function using round bracket and the name of the function, it won't work. So I can call any number of time I like. Okay. So now the same thing that we need to do is with write method. Codes are same, only the mode will be different and the method will be different. Now guys, what we are going to do is we are going to write something in this file, but keep an eye, everyone, make sure that you have seen that we have written 4 lines here in this sample.txt file, right? Now, why I'm specifying this? Because there are things that are going to happen when we write it. Okay, so please make sure that you have seen that there are 4 lines in this sample.txt. Okay, there are 4 lines here in the sample.txt, and I'm going to write something here in the next line. Okay, so I just close this file, and I assume that when I write it, the 4 line plus the next line, the 5th line, will be printed in the on the screen. So file is equals to open, the name of the file sample.txt. Okay, and in which mode we want to open it. So we want to write something in it. All right, so I'll just use W for write. Okay, and since we are not reading it, I'll just use file.write, and what we are going to write is this is an example text for a demo of write mode. Okay, so I assume that the moment I run this code, this line will be added along with those 4 lines. Okay, I assume this. And since it is not reading, so we don't need this variable anymore, but we'll definitely print something. What we are going to print? We are going to print as a file modified successfully. Okay, successfully. All right, so that we should know that our work is done. If the message is not getting printed, that means there are some mistake or some error in the code. All right. So I'll just close the file once the work is done. Okay, so the same 4 lines, guys, there is nothing new. I'm just using different write method and the different mode that is write. So now if I run this, okay, now if I let me show you again. In the sample, we have 4 lines. I'll just close this file again. And now let me run this and see what happens. Okay, so file modified successfully. And now if I just go ahead and read, since we have already created the read function. So if I read the file, we get only 1 line. Why? We have 5 lines, right? But no, we have only 1 line. That is, this is an example text for demo of write mode. That so what exactly happened here? We ourselves have seen that there are 4 lines and this must be the 5th one, but now there is only 1 single line which we have recently written in it. So guys, you need to understand this. Whenever you open your file in write mode, it actually overwrites the previous data. Okay. Whenever you run this code in write mode, whenever you write something in your program using this W mode or write mode, it will overwrite the previous data. So you will lose your previous data. And this is a big mistake. This is a big error in file handling. Okay. That means if you are writing, or you can say writing the file using W mode, okay, using W mode, you should be very careful because it may lead to losing your data. Okay, you may lead to losing your data. So what is the solution for this? What is the solution for this? So solution, let me again create a function or else it will again run. So I'll just use write. Okay, and instead of this, I just have a message over here using an F string, format string, and whatever message I'll get from the user, that should get displayed inside the document. Right, so I'll just use file format indent region to make it inside the body of the function. All right, so what is the solution? As I said, so currently if you see, if I go ahead and read it again, I have only 1 line, that is this one. This is an example text. So if you want to add new data to your file, you want to actually write with the previous data, you have to use append mode. Something like this. So file is equals to open. Which file do we want to open? Sample.txt file. In which mode? In append mode. Okay. Then again, we need to use file dot write only. Guys, आप method हमेशा write ही use करोगे. You will always use write method, but there is a different mode here. We have opened the file in append mode. Here we have opened the file in W mode, that is write mode. Okay, which is very dangerous actually. It will, we can say, erase your previous data and write the new one. So do not use W mode if you just want to add something new. Okay, if you don't want to overwrite the previous documents, previous data, do not open in W mode. Use append mode. Okay, so I'll just write, this is a new line for append demo. Okay, and I'll simply print file modified successfully. File dot close. That's all. Okay, so if I run this now, so file modified successfully. Now, if you see here, if I just call the read function, you can see that we have both the lines, the previous document that we have, write mode, and then next to that line, we have this. So why it is joined? because we have not given the new line character. So if you want to give the new line character, you can use something called as new line, that is /n, okay, for one new line. So if I write, this will be printed in new line due to /n, okay, due to backslash n. So if I run this again, right, if I run this again and again read this, so now as you can see, this will be printed in new line due to /n. So if you want your file to be returned in the new line, always use /n for it. Again, our work is done, so we'll convert it in a function. Again, message that user wants to send, then format, indent region. Okay, I'll remove this. I'll keep my backslash over here itself, and I'll write message and I'll make it a format string. Okay, so now we have three functions. We have a function which will actually read my file. We have a function which will actually add new data to my file. So my message is, this is a new data. So let's see, modified. And if I read it again, you can see that we have, this is a new data, which is recently been added. Correct. And if I show you this file here, sample.txt, these are the lines that you are currently visible on your Python interpreter. Okay, so this is how file handling works. Is that clear to everyone? Any questions? Guys?
They're not asking any doubts, sir.
All right. So the topic is done. If they has any question, they please let me know, or we can finish the session here.
No doubts are asked, sir.
These are the codes. You guys can copy it.
So can you share all the files of 3 days so that I can share with the members?
Sure, I have one paint, I believe, for the first day, and yeah, I can share that. Not an issue.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So I'll share the attendance.
Okay, so should I leave?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for continuing this for one more day also.
Not an issue. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you liked the session. I'll take your leave here. Thank you so much again. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Guys, you can scan this QR for attendance.
Hello. Hello,
Hello.
Chandra. Chandra, can we end the
On
live?
yeah, we can end it.